Hi, my name is Fabiola Gretzinger, and I'm going to talk a little bit about student life balance. It's probably one of the most common questions I get as a admissions ambassador. So I probably have a little bit of a different experience than most people because I was one of the few 1L students who decided to work throughout the semester. So I get a lot of questions about how I made that work, how I stayed sane throughout the, midterms, finals, throughout the entire semester pretty much while still working. My first piece of advice is don't do it. I didn't listen to everyone who told me not to do it, just because it was so appealing to be getting paid while I was in law school, and I had a really flexible position at a law firm. They were really understanding, which is probably the only way I made it work. But first thing about student life balance is do not work if you can. I definitely could have gone without working, so definitely don't do that. But my first semester was definitely a lot more hectic than what it has been now. So my schedule before this second semester was I was going to class. I can't even remember what my schedule was like now, but I was working once a week. The first month I started working 3 times a week, and that became just way too much, so I couldn't do that. So I went back to working only once a week. I would go in on Fridays because my classes ended at noon, so I could work pretty much like noon to 5:30. And it was still, hectic. I lost a lot of opportunities to connect with, my classmates because they would do happy hour or do some other sort of section activity. So starting from last semester, how the university does it is they split you up in sections. So our entire incoming class was probably around 250. But obviously we can't have classes all together, so they split us up into sections. I was in section A, and we had about 47 students who I had all of my classes with. My first semester, I had property, contracts, civil procedure, constitutional law, and the legal research and writing class. So in all of those classes, I had all the same people, which is really comforting because if I got cold called, I kind of knew who I was being cold called in front of. I was there for their cold calls, so if they, did answer incorrectly, it wasn't as embarrassing if I did because I'd seen them in the class before. And also, you create so much of a closer bond because you spend all your classes with them. You're all going through the same thing together, so definitely a closer bond than if you just had mixed classes throughout, like you would do in your 2L and 3L years. So last semester, like I said, I would only work once a week, and then it was definitely a harder transition because I was going straight from undergrad to law school, so I thought, I didn't have to put in as much time. I was more used to being able to skim through my readings, my political science readings, and not have to, write briefs or take notes on it. So definitely the first semester was a huge transition. I would try to go in, my classes, most of them started at 9 a.m. and I would be done by 2 or 3, and then I would spend pretty much the rest of the night. My first semester I was there until 9 studying. So not a lot of time, not the best time management. So my piece of advice for, your first semester is do take it seriously, but also, think of the things that are important to you outside of school. What I realized was that I was trying to get everything done before I came home, but then I didn't have time to, be with my roommate, who is also my best friend, so, I could kind of get that disconnect between law school and my personal life. I also was not working out or going to yoga, which is what normally helped me relax. So going into my second semester, I realized that I had to definitely manage my time a lot more. So I had a better expectation of, what my classes were going to look like, what my workload was. So I knew that how much 30 pages of reading was going to take me in time. So I was able to manage that time a lot better. Now what I've been doing that has been a lot more successful is either working out in the mornings before I even go to class, which obviously that only works if you're an early riser, which I didn't think I was, but apparently now I am. But I'll either work out in the mornings, and so I try to treat law school as kind of like a job. So from 8:30 in the morning when I start my first class, until pretty much 6 p.m., I'm at the law school. So I take lunch with me, and I take all of my books, which sadly now I can't be at the law library, but here they are, all of my textbooks. So also because I didn't want to carry all of that around with me, I obviously prefer to study at the law school so I don't have to carry my textbooks and bring them home. And it's kind of like what they say about you, you can't bring work home. I kind of like that disconnect between that. That works for me. I know some of my classmates will go home as soon as their classes are over, and then they just study at like their house. That's not that's not how I thrive or how I work. So like I said, from 8:30 to 6, no matter what break I have between, like it can be my lunch break. Sometimes this semester I have like a 2 hour and a half break between classes that's supposed to be for lunch. So I also use that time to get some homework done. Also some time to catch up with my friends because obviously we need a break from like just sitting down and reading and talking about case law and stuff. But so I use that lunch break and stuff to also get homework done. And normally by 6 or 6:30 I'm done. I'll either, if I didn't work out in the mornings, I'll try and go to yoga. That normally my classes are at like 7. Or I just come home and have dinner and I have time to, hang out with my roommate for whatever that may be. Like on Mondays we would do The Bachelor. Which was obviously really relaxing, but also a big time commitment because it's like 3 hours. So if I could get it in, I would. Obviously, during midterms and finals, that shifts a lot. During finals, it's kind of just like with my study group, we would try and do, like per hour, kind of just like do 1 hour of what you want to do until we would have a study plan. But obviously, that's just completely different. That's kind of whatever your study system is. But for now, this semester, what's been proven really successful for me is treating it as a job and going 8:30 to 6, pretty much law school, law school, law school, study, 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 get all my homework done. I also really use my weekends to get ahead in readings. So when I can, I'll do like Saturday and Sunday mornings. I try to get a lot of stuff done, whether it be at home or at the law school library. And then that way, once the week comes around, it doesn't feel like the only thing I'm doing is law school. So definitely there is an opportunity to have, a balance and have a life outside of law school. For me, it's been treating it as a job. 8:30 to 6, law school studying. During this semester, since I've had a bit more of like experience with law school, I've been able to work 2 times a week. I go on Monday and Friday. And that's been a little bit more manageable because my job is so supportive. But overall, definitely possible, and also always keep in mind, the school wants you to thrive, and if that requires you working out or watching The Bachelor with your roommate, you can make that work as long as you manage your time efficiently. So, yeah, definitely possible to have a student life balance.